Hello, everyone. How are you doing? I hope that your morning or evening is getting off to a good start here. And I'm really looking forward to this particular reading, not only because all of us get to come together today, but also because this is something that affects everyone. It's a perfect one for one of these collective readings because basically, I believe that retrograde is an opportunity to clear, to help, and that we can actually thrive during this period. And so that's why I titled it just that. Let me know if you can hear me okay. By the way, I adjusted my mic volume so that I could avoid some clipping issues that happened on some previous videos. So if you can hear me, let me know. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what's in store for today. So we're going to deviate a little bit from the norm. And I'm going to put a ball down and talk here. We're going to deviate a little bit from the normal schedule. And I'm going to begin still with channeled messages. But then I want to look at retrograde in a couple of different parts. I want to begin with just a general reading to see what's coming through for us right now, what's basically affecting our ability to function well. So opportunities, potential blocks. So that'll be kind of normal, the general forecast. But then I'm going to look at this through the lens of retrograde. So let's really try to figure out like what's going on. And then if we get some potential blocks, I want to drill into that in the next portion. And ask, okay, maybe I'll pull clarifying cards in the first one if I see a bunch of stuff. And if I don't, then I'm going to look one more time. I'm going to say, well, then what are the opportunities? And the second reading is going to be organic based on what I get with the first one. So we'll look at an energy pulse where it's at. Then we're going to try to fine tune it. So if I see things where it's a little bit tricky, we're going to fine tune it. And we're going to try to grow from that, which is why I have a butterfly on today. We're going to transform through the retrograde cycle. After that, I got a lot of great questions from Patreon members and also YouTube channel members. So I'm going to highlight a few of those. Really depends on how much time we have. We have many retrograde cycles per year, so I may bring some of these back in future readings and just talk about some questions about how we can deal with it, what it's all about. And so that'll be the third major part. And then afterwards, because we just came through this, it was kind of like a double whammy. I'm sure many of you felt it. A combination of the full moon plus the eclipse, plus it was a supermoon, meaning it was even bigger and more intense than usual. We're going to meditate on a combination of the retrograde, the eclipse, and the full moon to try to use it to the best advantage and to release any sort of the heavy energy that you might be feeling. Okay? So we got a lot to do today, and I'm so happy you're all here. Let's get started, okay? First of all, I'd like to welcome everybody. Good to see you. Good to see everyone from all the different parts of the world. Thank you so much for joining me today. If it's your first time here, just a big welcome and thanks for joining me. Couple notes on how I operate. I'm not going to be taking questions today as I do the reading because I got a bunch of them beforehand, like I said. And typically I go into a channeled state and it gets hard to focus when there's a bunch of questions coming directly at me. But if you like what you see here, you can, first of all, if you ever want to ask questions in the future, you can join and become a channel member. I try to do about one video per month that allows for viewer feedback. So that's what happened today. And I think you can also join through this button, but this is the super chat button. So if you like what you see, you can send a sticker. You can say thank you, just like Thea did there. You can do something like that. And that helps me out with all the card supplies and setting up extra videos. I'm doing 3 extra videos per month. There's also a feature on replay on desktop and Android with this little applaud button that does the same. So you can do that if you like. And finally, please feel free to hit subscribe and like if you enjoy what you see here. If you've already subscribed to the channel already, thank you. And if you've already liked the video, I appreciate you. Those little acts of engagement actually really help the video be discovered by others, which is why it's so important. Okay, let's talk about your channeled messages and your totem for today. So your totem, as I was tuning into everything this morning, I usually take something from nature that that helps really kind of sum up what's going on. It comes to me in dreams or meditation. But your image that I saw this morning was a rose, and it was a beautiful pink rose, just like you see here, that I saw. And it was kind of a unique vision where I was actually consuming rose water, or it almost felt like I was drinking the roses, if you could. And you actually can have like rose water or like rose hip tea. And a lot of times you can get it in jam or jelly. So this is something that you can actually eat if you want to. So whenever I see this, it is about healing the throat chakra. It's also about bringing that energy of peace, of love, and tranquility into what you're doing. And I think it's going to be a really nice way as you're moving through the retrograde to have calming energy. And of course, you can even wear something like rose quartz. You could, if you have a smaller crystal, you could put it around the throat. You could wear it as, if you have a bracelet or something like that. Rose quartz is great. And we've talked about this before, even though the predominant color in the heart is green, there is also rose. And the rose energy, the pink energy, is a kinder, calmer, more peaceful energy. It's not so much about love or abundance. It's really about this sort of calming energy. If you ever have someone in your life that's really tricky to deal with, you can imagine them. You can close your eyes and just see like a beautiful rose aura around them, or a sort of shield between the two of you. And that's going to be a nice way to filter or to diffuse very agitated energy. So rose is a wonderful color. It's a wonderful plant. And we're going to talk about how it's functioning for you today. So with the eclipse, which we just went through, and the full supermoon, which we just went through, we're being shown, interestingly enough, we're seeing the shadow side. So a full moon in and of itself would be a chance for us to just connect with hopes, with fears, with illusions. When the eclipse happens and takes away the light, we're actually in that brief moment, we're just with our shadow energy. And we all have light and shadow. I like the rose because it has, the roses and the thorns. So during the eclipse, what's happening for a lot of us is that we were shown the thorny part of our life or others, and we have to kind of deal with that. And it's just a brief moment, but it kind of has these, just like an earthquake has aftershocks. What you'll be feeling over the next few days, next few weeks, are the energies associated with the realization of, hey, I've got to work on this, or this makes me uncomfortable. Everything that you would see with the moon card, or that you would feel with a regular full moon, it's coming through, but then it's amplified because it was bigger, supermoon, and because there was an eclipse. So we had an illusion, then it was even a little darker, and then we're back to the sort of full moon energy that's already heavy. So the rose is really important moving through this because it's going to help us love, heal, and accept those sort of like thorny aspects of our energy, and to ultimately integrate and to fix whatever it was that was causing fear, or maybe for us to suppress or to hide from that sort of thorny energy as well. So thorns basically illustrating the shadow energy this month. Like I said, I saw the consumption of rose being key. You're going to have to do it in a way that's healthy. So like I said, there can be something like you can get it in jam or jelly. You can also get tea that will help with that. But basically, it was also about bringing kindness and love and forgiveness into your body, into your mind, loving yourself, accepting yourself. Roses are a universal symbol of love and friendship. And just like relationships, they're pretty complicated, aren't they? Relationships are complicated. And if you've ever cared for a rose, it's a high maintenance plant on some levels. Because one of the things that you have to do is prune it. If you don't, it's not going to grow and bloom the way that you want it to. In real life, you're being asked to look at connections, people that you're spending time with. Prune or hold back on some of the connections where it's inhibiting your growth. Just like a rose too, it can get kind of long and leggy. It can even like intertwine on itself, and it can strangle out its ability to grow. So sometimes it needs help pruning so that new growth can happen, new blooms will happen. And for you, there could be some old pathways between you and others, some old habits that you're currently sort of engaged with that are causing a block, or it's somehow inhibiting your ability to grow. So this is your chance to prune, to pull back, and to push out in a new direction. This is also a really good time to redirect energy or to go back and finish something, since we're in a retrograde. And we'll talk about that as we get into the forecast. Okay, so protection is good. It's something that we should all do spiritually and every day in life. That's why we have locks on the door and things like that. But sometimes if we put up walls that are too high, it's basically like putting thorns all over everything, and it's hard for people to reach out. Let people, just like the star card, see the true you and encourage them to do the same. I think we've grown accustomed to protecting, to editing, to pushing back, to distancing, and not allowing people to see us, or because there's a fear of sometimes rejection, judgment, all those things that are kind of difficult. But if you love who you are, if you know who you are, if you let other people know that it's a safe space to exist in as well, then the thorns fade away. Thorns are imperfections. We all have them. We wouldn't be incarnated this lifetime if we didn't have something that we were working on. So love yourself and accept those things and work on them. And eventually they'll fade or fall away. As I was talking about rose quartz, which it's hard to kind of show up on this camera here because it kind of gets washed out. But it's just quartz with a kind of pinkish color. You can get it almost anywhere. You can get it online. That's a really great way for you to create that peaceful, loving, calming energy, engaging energy. You can even wear the color rose as well to do some of this if you would like to. Okay, so that's rose and how it's affecting you in the retrograde and how you can use it, not just in the totem, but as an everyday tool to help you out. Okay, I hope that helps. The fragrance is really nice. The essential oil is very expensive. You usually have to get it, if you're going to go to a store, a lot of times they'll water it down with like jojoba oil or something like that. But if you get the absolute concentrated rose essence, it's going to be pretty expensive, like 30 bucks, 50 bucks or more, because it takes a lot of roses to make that oil. So it's very, very effective. You're going to probably get a smaller bottle of it if you're in need of that, but you could put a drop like on your bed, like on your pillow, or you could just diffuse. I have a diffuser right behind me. There it is, because I'm trying to look in the camera and point at it. So I actually have oil in there that's diffusing while I do this. Today I'm using lemongrass because it kind of keeps me awake while I'm doing this. But that's a great way. You could just put a single drop. That'll make your whole place smell amazing too. So you can use the fragrance, or if you have roses, you could dry the petals. You can make your own sort of potpourri or oils or whatever as well. Okay. For the next one, I'm going to pull my iPad because my dad had one of these back in the day, but like I never used it, and it really is from the past generation. But it came through in visuals, so I want to talk about it. So for those of you that either work in like recording, or you've seen this maybe at your grandparents' house, this is a reel-to-reel. It's also, you could just think of a film canister, old-fashioned sort of film canister. So what I was looking at, I couldn't tell if it was like an audio reel-to-reel or like a film sort of going from one canister to the other. But what I saw was that there was a canister missing. And so I couldn't play it. And there was a message when I saw this, I'm like, okay, so there's all this stuff here, but there's no way for me to really kind of like connect with this. If it is video or if it is audio, this makes perfect sense for retrograde because it's saying that something is missing, that part of the message has been cut off. The first thing that I thought is that it's time to change up the story. It's like an old movie or an old script that has just been played one too many times. And sort of like the universe is saying, you're done with that. Take the canister off, stop using this antiquated way of working, and just open up to something new. The other thing that I picked up when I was thinking of this reel-to-reel sort of energy is avoid one-way conversations. If someone thinks they know everything and they're not ready and willing to receive it, that second canister would receive the tape from the first and then it would play so you could hear it and see it, then they're closed, right? They're closed off. We all have people in our lives where, you know, they don't want to hear something new. They're like, nope, I don't believe in that. Even if all the facts show that this is what you should be doing, they're not going to believe it. So it's a conversation not worth having. It's a waste of your energy. That canister's empty, and you got to wait for them to put in something there to receive. I mean, the same thing happens if you know anyone in your life that's an addict or that's somehow needing help but will not accept it. They have to be open for the satellite to kind of open up and receive. Okay, so you can spend your energy in better places is basically what that was showing. And it's reminding you to stay open. But if you're here, you're open already. So I feel like that's more about the people in your life. Okay, do some investigation as well, because this could be a little bit of Seven of Swords energy where someone's hiding something, or the moon, since we're in a post-eclipse and post-supermoon sort of state. So someone might be holding back, not telling the full truth, just not disclosing everything. So be an investigator, take a look at it, and you're going to probably discover something that you need to see. And sometimes the omission of something, just like when I'm reading cards, is actually it's conveying information, right? If you don't see any cups cards or any pentacles cards, it's saying, hey, you really need to focus on this. All right. Also, because this is perfectly appropriate. Hey, Apollo. Because we're in a retrograde. Go back and review old texts, emails, and correspondence. You may uncover some key information, especially something that you said you were going to do, something that you forgot. You might just be missing something. So that missing canister could be a missing piece of information that you just need to go over again. So if you're not understanding someone's perspective, go back and look at everything that they said. If you're going to be delivering something to someone, make sure that you also go through that list and ensure that something wasn't lost in the communication cycle somehow. Okay, it was a fun, old-fashioned sort of thing that came to mind because we've kind of moved past that now. Everything's streaming. We use MP3s and iPhones and everything, but my guides were showing me that because of the canister, it communicates something. Isn't it interesting sometimes how an analog symbol is still more, it conveys more than a digital one. So that's why they brought that through. Okay, this is really interesting. First of all, one of the key things that you can do in a retrograde is clean. It's very good because you're basically clearing stuff out. You're revisiting old things that may have just been forgotten or kind of dusty and clearing it out. What I saw in my dream was energy move from one part of your house to the front door. And it felt to me like it was spirit energy, like a ghost, if you want to call it that, but past energy from someone that was living. And it was human. So I feel like there could be some things that you're holding on to that are also keeping you connected to people in your life. They could also be alive, and I could have just seen like a projection of their energy. So if you broke up and you're holding on to like an old, vase or an old watch or something like that from the past, maybe it's time to let go of the gift that person gave you. Donate it. If you're tired, there's nothing, nobody wants it, then just recycle it. Do something to kind of take the energy out of the house and say goodbye. I also think that the act of smudging and clearing is going to be very important as well. So there are two main smudging energies or smudging tools that I work with. I like sage, but because I have neighbors here where I live, I usually will use incense during the day because that's a lot more palatable. And it doesn't it doesn't smell so strong. So I'll save the saging for once a week, and then I use the incense every day. And I do use it every day because of the work that I'm doing. So one thing that I wanted you to do because of the way that I saw this was to open up the windows and the doors in your house and smudge in an outward sort of sweeping motion, moving the energy from the center of the room to the door and to the windows. And then leave the windows and doors open for a while and let the energy get out. And then you can close it. And if you want to, you can put some protective symbols and amulets in those sort of areas. So you can create a crystal grid in your house using little tiny quartz crystals like this. And in each of the four corners or however many corners you have in the room, you can charge the crystal with your energy, with a prayer, with an intention, and then point it. I usually point it towards the center. Depends what you're trying to do. If you're trying to send something out, you can point it outward. If you're trying to keep stuff in, you can point it inward. But you can create your own crystal grid with little tiny quartz fractions like this. So you can sometimes buy them inexpensively at a normal sort of mineral store or a metaphysical store. And these are really good for creating a grid around your house or your apartment. So you can put them inside, you can put them outside, doesn't matter. But clean the energy first and then put little tiny quartz crystals around the house and program a prayer or some sort of a protective energy in that. And then you can point it in the direction that you want to, and that'll help. Just a little tip that came through. So clean things out and do some energetic spring cleaning, basically. And like I said, then protect all the points of energy in your home. Typically, each corner is a good way to sort of do that. You can also hang something up like a Swarovski crystal. They have these ones that kind of look like a disco ball with all these facets. So if you don't have a bunch of crystals and you just want to have a big impact, you could go to one of the windows and hang a crystal with a bunch of facets on it, and then it will basically take the light and put it in different points of the room when the sun is shining. It's really pretty, actually. So if you have a window that faces the sun, that's another way that you can do it and get more bang for your buck. Okay. Let's move on to the next set of messages, and then we'll get into the cards. All right. So I also saw what felt like a hurried and or overdue transition or move. It could be both. It doesn't have to be like a physical move. When I see movement, It could be a decision to like quit a job or leave a relationship or stop a habit. But they were showing it to me in the metaphor of like, it's time to move. The moving van is outside. But what I saw was that you almost waited too long and the new people were coming to move into your space. You'd lost the key and you were looking for stuff. So it just felt hurried and a little bit overdue. And there was a caution against procrastination here. So I always like to counter this when I get something that might be fear-based. So the way to counter this is to slow down, to regroup, and realize the key's inside. It's not some physical object. The key is judgment. It's a decision to do something. The decision brings about the action in your life, and then the action becomes natural and easy and something that you want when you feel it and you believe it. If you lack the sort of judgment portion of it, which is decisive, accepting, and ready to move on, like I accept and I will now come back from this. It's like reincarnation. So this is telling you that it's an open door, not a closed door. So open the door, you've got the key, get rid of the junk, move on. There felt like also the stuff that was behind, I thought, why are you worried about it? It just looks to me like some piles of rubbish. So I feel like you're much more ready to move than you think. And there might just be something going on where, you're just a little bit afraid of being able to let go of something, but it's going to be okay. All right. So let's move on to the next piece here. I was saying the extra distractions are just clouding your decision making. So don't worry about that. Okay. Okay. This last one was really, really interesting. It was talking about, it's both symbolic and it's also literal. So I had an ancestor, well, actually a relative that's in spirit that came through, and she said, make your bed, but don't make other people's beds. So the message here is to take care of your own business and let people take care of their own business as well. And it's going to help get rid of codependency. And it also frees you up to not feel guilty for, like, even though you're intuitive perhaps or very empathic and things are going to be okay, sometimes it's sort of this feeling of, but like, if I could just tell you how to do this, I would save you so much time. People need to figure things out for themselves sometimes. So this particular period of time, the next 2 to 4 weeks in particular, these readings usually go 6 to 8, but we're looking at the retrograde. So I'd say in real time, the next 3 or 4 weeks here, it's really about you clearing up your energy. So let people come to you if they need to or want to, but if they're not, then you're supposed to be focusing on yourself. Making the bed is also about sort of like your foundation. Is everything cleared out? Have you paid your debts? Have you, had conversations that you need to have? Have you gotten rid of the junk in the house and the junk in your head? Clear it all out. Make a clean bed each day, because energetic, talking about all that other stuff or the physical bed, it's really allowing you to rest yesterday's drama, yesterday's lessons, and you're entering today this feeling of openness, of possibilities, rather than like Santa Claus would have all this stuff, or Marley, as I would say in a Christmas Carol. Like, you don't need to have all those chains or all that garbage behind you. You're letting it go. You're making a clean bed every day. And also, by the way, if you have recently gone through a difficult separation or situation, change all your sheets and get rid of the bedspread, even if you like it, or dry clean it or something. Probably get rid of it though. If let's say you were in a relationship with someone for 3 or 4 years and you have this old bedspread, and that was something that was with you during the relationship, it's charged with the energy. So it's really good after you divorce, break up, or go through a really difficult loss to just change your sheets and get rid of the old ones and get a new bedspread, a new duvet or whatever, because then you can put new energy into that, and it's a nice, fresh, clean slate. So if you want to give it away, but you probably should put something new so that you're not holding on to the old. And if you were in a divorce and you have to change more than just the sheets, you have to change the mattress too, because it has too much energy. But if it's just a moment in your life, you can get rid of your sheets, and that will help. You don't have to necessarily get rid of the mattress. Anyway, you should replace them every 8 years or whatever. So it's a good thing to do periodically after a couple of moves. Just get rid of that and start fresh. And you'd be surprised how much of a difference that can make. Okay. Also, it's really good for your back. because they get worn out after time. The springs are not as supportive. So treat yourself if you haven't. And again, if you can't do the mattress, at least do the sheets and the duvet or the cover, the mattress cover as well, the mattress, all of it. Just basically everything you can change, and it's a good time to do it, especially in a retrograde, because it's going to cleanse the energy. All right, so quick little mini review here. Rose as a color, rose as a flower, and then the essence, the oil, the rose hips, all of that. You can use it as a tool in rose quartz too. The real to real sort of energy. It takes two of these sort of things to communicate. If one is taken out, the one is just kind of going around in a cycle. So if someone in your life is not listening the way the real to real would allow them to, then they're not open. Also, it's time to take that story away and write something new. Tell a new story, start a new narrative. And clean your house, use some sort of a smudging tool. I have an old video on it on my YouTube channel, so you can look it up there. But you can use anything from like Palo Santo to what was I going to say? To sage, to frankincense, to also using incense. There's a lot of different things you can use. Singing bowls, sound, so much. Use whatever feels right to you, but clean your house out energetically after you clean it out physically, and then put some crystals in to lock in the positive energy that you did. And yeah, make your bed and don't worry about making others. Let them do it. Just like a mom or dad has to teach their child the importance of taking care of themselves. This is kind of the same message. As adults, a lot of times we fall into the habits of still wanting to sort of like mother or father someone. And this is saying, you don't have to do that anymore. Let someone come to you. Or if you offer some sort of service, let them book an appointment or pay for that. You don't have to do it all on your own. Okay, so let's move into the next section today. What I'd like to focus on for the next piece is just a general pulse to see where everyone's at and to kind of home in on what it is that is presenting some issues. And then we're going to go into how to fix it in the next portion. And then I'm going to look at some of the questions that you'd submitted, and then we'll meditate. I'll do a final card at the end too. That part's going to be pretty similar. I think I'm going to use the sun and the moon deck to start with, since we just came through an eclipse. It seems like it'll be a good energy to tap into what's going on right now. And then I'll switch it up as we move forward. So this is everybody's welcome today. It's all signs. I'm not going to pull it out for each sign because we're all under the same full moon and the same retrograde. So we're looking at universal energy and information for the present, challenges and opportunities that retrograde is presenting. And then we're going to find out how to thrive, how to fix it, how to grow during this period. But first things first, let's just see what's coming through for us. Of course, we got the Tower in reverse. And the Wheel of Fortune, though, positive changes. Okay, so funny. This is a really lovely deck if you have anyone that's kind of not comfortable with traditional Rider-Waite-Smith symbols. It's a very welcoming deck. Sun and Moon. There's a link to it on my website too if you need it. Thank you so much for everyone that is giving super stickers, super chat. Thank you also everyone that is a channel member or Patreon supporter and for submitting some questions. I appreciate your support. So again, this is going to be just a general pulse to see what we're all going through during this retrograde. I chose the sun and moon because of the heavy lunar influences. I definitely felt it. I'm not sure about those of you out there, but it was a pretty intense couple of days this week. Technology, I saw it happen with Mercury, but I also felt like all the heavy moon energy coming through. So I thought this would be a nice way to honor it. Okay, let's take a look at what's coming through here. Let me just take a drink real quick. Okay. So your catalyst message as we enter into this retrograde is to be brave and honest. Amen to that. We have a knight. By the way, what's he carrying? What's behind him rather, but a rose. I love this. Nice synchronicity here. So what we're seeing with this is the ability to understand what was revealed, like I said, during the retrograde, the thorns that we saw, also during the eclipse, and to deal with that. There's this feeling of like, I understand, I'm going inward, I know what I need to work on, and because I'm a knight, I'm gonna take action on this. I'm gonna do the right thing. I always like to think of the sort of the code of honor that a knight would have. So try to lead by example, even or especially when other people are incapable of doing that. And this is the important thing, bravery and honesty. The brave part is so important. Honesty takes bravery sometimes, because this could also just be about speaking your truth. I think of like a Knight of Swords, which he looks a lot like, even though it's, you know, it's not specifically Knight of Swords. And it is about saying the right thing and taking the right action after saying that thing. So for some of you, this could just be saying no to someone. It could be about talking about a part of your life that's difficult, and saying something that someone needs to hear. It could also be something as easy as like as important as coming out. So, you know, there might be a part of your life that you need to share with others. And this is the moment where it matters and you're going to take a stand. Ultimately, the knight moves. So be brave and be willing to move forward. And then I see good things happening for you after that. It's just that initial movement, the decision, like I said, the judgment that is required to allow for that to happen. Okay. I laughed a little bit when I saw the tower here. So we have the tower card reversed. Notice how this one has the Eye of Ra up there, or Horus. And basically it's saying, you see this tower coming. I actually enjoy a good tower reversed because it is a chance to rebuild. The tower upright is, I saw it coming and I didn't do anything about it, or I was afraid to do something about it. This is, I see it coming and I'm going to get ahead of this tower. So this is a time for you to get ahead of it and to take the action now necessary to avoid an argument, or if something's broken, like literally broken, your car or something in the house, or a relationship figuratively is kind of in disarray. This is the cleanup mode. It's saying, I'm not going to wait for it to get worse. I'm not going to wait for lightning to strike and for things to fall apart. It's already broken. So let's just agree to work on it now. And how are we going to do that? I'm going to speak up. I'm going to suggest something. Hey, we need to talk about this, or this. This is what I'd like to do. So you're going to take the initiative here, and that's going to help you out quite a bit. Okay. So I don't fear the tower reversed. I see it as a chance to have a really positive effect on something that's happening here. For some of you, this is a chance to improve your finances, to change your job, or to get into a different cycle altogether. The Wheel of Fortune is not just a money card. It's also this shift in your life. Some of you have spent too much time kind of just being a cog in this bigger machinery. So this could be the machinery of a family that's dysfunctional. It could be the machinery of a relationship where you're the only one moving, like that reel to reel, and the other person's just kind of moving on your momentum. Because sometimes when you see gears, there's one that has the motor and all the other ones move because of that. If you spend all your time being that sort of like central moving gear, it's exhausting, right? We need to have some other people moving as well. So this is really about pulling in that equal energy so that you don't have to be like the battery for everyone, for everything. And financially speaking, it's really good that we have the Wheel of Fortune. This together, since this is modifying this, which is a necessary change, this could be transferring for a new job. This could be moving in with someone, which could help your finances. It could be getting a roommate or something like that. It could be downsizing so you have more money. It could be selling off stuff that you don't need anymore. It could be selling a house. But what I'm ultimately seeing is a change, a movement, or getting rid of something, which then brings about stability with finances, better movement, better possibilities as well, okay? So it's time to make that change, is what these two cards are showing, necessary change. We have a very meditative Hierophant here in the deep past, and one of the things that I like with this is, by the way, if you ever just want to ground yourself, meditating by a tree, going out and just touching a tree, or visualizing that there is a tree behind you. That's something that I regularly do. It's a really effective way to reach up towards the stars and towards the sky, and also kind of like keep yourself grounded, something that we sometimes forget to do in meditation. So suffice it to say that that's going to be a really important tool for you. Hierophant is sometimes too rooted in a particular way of doing something. So this is also coming through to say, all right, it's worked in the past, but it may not always work. So open up. This is a young Hierophant, and he also seems like very open, and I like that, but we still have this sort of like bullish Taurus-like energy here, Taurus-like energy. So I would say for some of you, there's this reminder that you don't always have to do it one way. Stay open-minded, try something new, put your toe in the water and see how it feels. Just give it a shot, because I feel like this is a chance for you to broaden your horizons a little bit. Four of Pentacles, really interesting energy with this. If you're working on something that you really care about, this is saying keep it to yourself until it's done. This could be an invention. This could be something like a song or a book that you're writing that's not quite ready yet for other people to look at it. Sometimes the Four of Pentacles is a blessing, because it's saying, particularly when it's reversed, it's just saying, hey, hold on to that a little bit, integrate on it, get your thoughts where they need to be before you share it, and then open up. Because this is a foundational Four of Pentacles. It's not as isolated as the traditional ones. We actually see someone really close here working their magic, and we see four corners, new castles, new foundations around them. So I think you're actually onto something really good, and you need a little bit more time to sharpen whatever it is, the idea, the communication surrounding it. And this is saying, when you're ready, share it. If you're not, don't, because you may get discouraged. So just get that ironed out. Again, even though I don't think it hasn't come through, I keep getting judgment in my head. So you have to be ready. You have to feel it before you release it. That's what's holding you back, because your center card is way beyond the Suit of Pentacles. It's the Wheel of Fortune. It's all of that. It's expanding it. This is limiting. It's always a limiting card, but it's telling me that you're holding back or holding on to something. So when you're ready to let go, it's going to grow. But if you keep holding on and you try to release it before you're ready to release it, it won't work. So you have to be able and willing and ready to receive constructive feedback, to sort of be like, I don't care now. I've done everything that I can do. This is who I am. This is how I feel. This is what I have to offer, etc., etc. It's up here. The block is here, and maybe a little bit here. So is your heart too attached to it? Is your head overthinking it? Once you're able to get past that, you get the beautiful foundational energy in this particular Four of Pentacles, okay? So the next card here is the Five of Wands. The main encouragement with this one is never to give up. Also here to try to find the proper teamwork. Sometimes there's competitive energy with the Five of Wands. It's interesting here that we don't see five people. We see a couple of people doing a lot of the work. This is very close to what I was picking up on with the cogs and the gears that we see here in this Wheel of Fortune. So there may be one or two of you doing the lion's share. It's time to have more delegation, more pushing back. And the other thing with the Five of Wands is to get above the sort of situation, get out of the weeds, refocus on what is my goal? How far have I come? How can I work smarter? And that's going to help you move through the Five of Wands a little bit better, okay? I love what I see here with the Three of Cups. And this is celebrating. This is bringing in new possibilities. This could be dating. All of this is actually quite good. And the only thing that could ever sort of be, there are two things where Three of Cups can kind of go to an extreme. One is that we see abundance, but it can also kind of go into the sort of debauchery area where it's too much. So going into an extreme, having too much fun, celebrating too much, basically getting ahead of the chariot a little bit, and you need to stay focused. And the other thing can be a lack of permanence. This can sort of be like those old revolving doors that you would see at certain like corporate buildings. So if there's people coming into your life, sometimes they come and go and come and go. And it's this sort of like cycle, which is what we have here. We have this sort of cyclical card, and it was sideways. We have this one here touching that. So I see people, it's not quite to the point where it would be like Eight of Cups, where it's on and off, but it's kind of like you're not sure sometimes how long they're going to stay. So if there's something that you really like, at some point there has to be that conversation about permanence or exclusive energy if you're dating. And in a relationship, it can be about sort of like rekindling a spark. But overall, in the near future, it's auspicious. It means celebration, new people, new opportunities coming in. There's a reason to be happy. Okay, so I like that. We do have the Eight of Cups here. So the combination of the two is definitely showing me that things may start to get more serious between you and someone else. So in a job situation, this could be like temp to perm, but there's a period of evaluation that goes on maybe a little too long, and same thing in a relationship. If you've been dating someone for like the 3-month period is actually a pretty good place to know, hey, this is something more than just random. By the time you hit like 6 to 8 months, you're not just dating, you're in a relationship. And so is that person ready to admit that this is more than just someone that you're seeing? That someone should have a name and there should be an attachment of some sort to that. What I'm seeing with this is that you or the other person is comfortable perhaps with that state of just existing, but you need to check in with your partner to make sure, are they in the same place? Because this can sometimes be a little, it can cause you to wonder, like, why haven't we made this more official or something like that? Anyway, for a cycle in your life when it comes to money, this is really good. So if you're a small business person, what this means is good word of mouth and return business. I would like to see more frequent return business. This can have a sort of intermittent energy where it's sort of like a little here, a little there, sometimes a few weeks, sometimes a few months. So you want to work on bringing people in more frequently. So more marketing is what I would say with that, because you already have some good energy. In a relationship, again, good momentum, maybe just needing that talk of exclusivity or commitment. And in general life, you're in a good place emotionally because this is showing kind of a breakthrough. And this is showing that there's going to be a steadiness to this breakthrough, which I like. Okay, so far, so good, actually. We have the 10 of Wands, which is the move that I saw, or the travel, or the change that you need to make. One thing with the 10 of Wands is how to better balance things. I really like that we don't see a burdened 10 of Wands here. Usually you'll see someone with all of those sort of either like logs or rods or whatever on their back, and it's too much. And so this one is very nicely balanced. So it's telling me that you will be able to accurately and effectively navigate through this next quarter of the year, I would say. And the key is also like being willing to move on to the next thing, because what we're missing in this particular 10 of Wands is usually the city or the destination. So are you so kind of caught up in the moment of, for some of you that are maybe in school, this can be just focusing on finals. For those of you in a relationship, it could be focusing on the day-to-day minutia. But where are you headed? Where are you going after that? I sometimes tell a story of like when I was getting out of grad school, and one of my professors that was an advisor, at the end he said, well, congrats, now what are you doing with your life? And it was a conversation that should have happened like 2 years prior, so that we could have better organized some things. So have the conversation now with yourself, with the people that matter, like, where's this all headed? Where are we headed? Why am I doing all this work? And you can be more effective in the choices that you make, okay? Because you're doing a good job. I just want you to make sure, I don't see the horizon in this card, and it makes me remember that, okay? Empress reversed, and this is what I was talking about, make your own bed, let other people make theirs. You have nice, fertile, developmental energy with the Empress card, but reversed, she can be a little tough to handle. So sometimes what that means is you're micromanaging, or you're being micromanaged. It can also indicate maternal, paternal energy, usually maternal, that's coming in. So a mom, a grandma, an aunt, a sister, or a friend that's just kind of popping into your life and saying, why are you doing that? Or where are we at on this? And it's sort of like, could you just back off a little bit and let me breathe? And so sometimes people are worried too much about you. So have some better boundaries with folks like that, and make sure that you're doing the same and that you're not worrying so much about them. Let them come to you. It's more powerful that way. Work-life balance does seem like it's a little bit askew here because we have the 2 of Pentacles. I very rarely read this as resource unless it's the only resource. One thing that it can tell you, though, is that this is a better month to hold back a little bit and decide, I need to look at all the opportunities in front of me. Make sure that you have, you've got a second opinion, you've got a back pocket option, just so that you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. But typically I look at it as work-life balance, possibly your health versus career or health versus relationship. And if there's a choice in front of you, it's saying that one thing has to take center stage. With the Six of Pentacles, it's usually just a matter of delay. With the Two of Pentacles, it's saying, no, like I have to either not do this or it's going to be more of a significant delay. I'll do this next year. You got to focus more. Six of Pentacles, you can do a little bit of this, you can do a little bit of this, you can pull back on that. You don't have as many choices with this. So I feel like there's an important decision in front of you. It can involve a decent amount of time, but it's going to be worth it. You just have to, again, know, where am I headed? How far have I gotten? Do I still like where I'm at? All of those key sort of existential soul questions, they're going to help you out with that. All right. You could also be finding a balance, achieving a balance after a period of imbalance. The Two of Pentacles is ultimately really good at figuring it out. So that's sort of the challenge, if you will, in this retrograde, is how can I find my balance, right? Okay, let's go a little deeper. Look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. And then we're going to do something special where I'm going to try to go into like normally I would put the soul space at the end, but we're going to kind of look at it next in the spirit of the retrograde. And then I'll pull like past, present, future influences for the retrograde. We'll see. I want to kind of mix it up a little bit. Okay. So for the health card, we have patience, and it's basically temperance here. But for many of you, there's this feeling of, I can't wait. Why is this taking so long? And she's holding a clock at the very center. It almost reminded me of the Wheel of Fortune as well. So there is this sort of impatience about waiting, timing. And also when we look at this card, it looks like springtime to me. Initially, I thought that it was snow, but it's almost like there's some new buds and blossoming on this. So you can't rush growth in your life. You also can't rush things like recovery. So emotional growth, also like physical fitness and anything that kind of takes time. This is saying, let it take the time that it needs. Be patient with yourself. If you go too far, too fast, all in at the very beginning, it's sort of like you just burn out, and I don't want you to burn out. And again, if you blow a gasket, if you will, something's going to happen where you need to repair yourself. So I think that you just need to kind of take your time and pace yourself a little bit. Okay. Having patience with other people in your life is going to be key. Maybe easier said than done, because there are some people that are trying that patience. So emotionally speaking, energetically speaking, there's impatience, there's exhaustion that comes from that impatience. Looking at other health cards, the thing that I see here at the center is some of you had a wake-up call. The Tower in reverse can be that, you're either a doctor has talked to you, or you're just looking at your life and the way that you're living, or your health, overall health and well-being. And it's just you're thinking to yourself, I need to get this back on track. This doesn't feel like me. So you can do it, and you will do it, because we have the Tower and the Wheel of Fortune. So take time to redirect, to change course, to move the steering wheel in the other direction. Don't overdo it. This is, again, can be a celebratory card, but it can be going too far. And this is making and breaking a cycle in your life. One thing that I do like here is that we have kind of like a stubbornness. So it feels like if you do have Taurus in your chart somewhere, because we have the bull there or the cow there, some of you may be able to really put your mind to something and stick with it. So make that commitment to yourself in health and well-being this month, okay? One message here is watch how you are lifting and carrying things, for sure, with the Ten of Wands. It can lead to a Ten of Swords if you're not careful. Changing up your chair, bed, posture, things like that can completely realign the spinal health. If you are open to things like chiropractic adjustments, this could be a good time for that, or some sort of massage. So obviously work with your doctor and healthcare providers to figure out what makes sense for you. But spinal health and watching how you carry weight in your life is going to be key. All right, let's look at the wealth card. We have study and learning, and we have the card reverse. So some of you are interested in developing some part of yourself, maybe going back to school, maybe getting a GED or going to college or finishing a degree, getting additional certification. Perfect timing for all of that. And it's a really good card to come through for wealth. If you are stuck and you're no longer learning anything, you could also be inspired to sort of like find a different path, and maybe you're going to go back to school for that purpose, but it could also just show stagnation at your job. And if that's the case, try speaking up, because this can be, if you see like restructuring happening in the job that you're working at, this can be talking about what else you might want to do, getting ahead of it before they make the decisions and say, this is your new job. So proactive communication and expression, as we kind of tie in the night again of what it is that you want. I've thought about this is something that matters, etc. That's going to be a valuable way to do it. Wealth can also be sort of like what you're doing in the community. For those of you that are retired, what you're doing with your time and your resources. And so some of you may want to teach. You may want to mentor as well. This is a great card for that. And the other thing here is to don't be afraid to ask for help when we're looking at anything in your career or money or personal development. This can be going to a therapist even, or someone that can just sort of mentor you in some way, because ultimately that's going to create more balance and abundance in your life. So I think that's a good thing. You may have to move for a job or for money, because we have two quintessential moving cards, the Tower reverse and the Ten of Wands. And this is probably you're going to move either up or down according to the money, either because you got more or you want to save some. So it feels like it's an important financial move as much as it is a physical move. And it also feels like you might have just grown tired of the current situation that you're in. So I like this. I see movement for the better, but anytime there's movement, there's also like mourning and that feeling of hanging on. What I saw in my dream was that you waited too long. So don't let the window of opportunity close on you. Okay. For the wealth cards, I actually like that we have the Wheel of Fortune at the center. What makes the wheels of my own mind turn is that we have Four of Pentacles and then Two of Pentacles. It seems like you're going the wrong way energetically. And I would say you've got what it takes. You just have to be comfortable with sharing it. Get to that point and then share it. And then let go of something that you don't need, because you still are kind of holding on. Both of these they're holding on to something that they don't need. If you take one of these two pentacles away, you have an ace, and you probably can do more with the ace than you can trying to juggle these two, because you can spend more time with the ace. If you took one of these away, you'd have the Three of Pentacles, which is recognition. Let it go and you actually get recognized. So letting go of something's really powerful. You can take these cards and make them better. Three of Pentacles and an ace are hidden under the Four of Pentacles and the Two of Pentacles. The required action is, I don't need this, you take that. And it's also really good for law of detachment. I really don't, I want to focus on this, you focus on that, or I have more than enough. You take this and I'm going to take this and build even more. Okay? So feels like you're holding on, and when you let it go, you're going to get more. It's energetic math, not mathematical math. So take that as it applies to you and figure out how that'll work in your life. But something that you're holding on to. It doesn't have to be money or a physical thing, but it's something that's holding you back a little bit. Okay. All right. The next thing that we're looking at is love and relationships. We've got surrender here. And this is kind of what I was talking about. It feels like for some of you, there's this new cycle entering. There's this great sort of energy. So if there's a new person in your life, maybe stay open to receiving more, or, you know, like, what are you afraid of perhaps when connecting with this person? Love is surrender. God is surrender. When you're working as a channel, what you have to do is set the parameters and then channel. So there is this sort of opening that has to happen. And I think the key energy in all relationships this month, whether you're single, partnered, or not looking, is to be open to what comes your way. Quickly looking at in love. Actually, we'll do in love, looking for love, and could care less. So if you're in love, this is a pretty interesting moment. Some of you may be having some arguments around money or moving or the house, or there could also just be some shaky foundations in the relationship. So this is a make it or break it month for those of you in a key partnership. And the word that you want to focus on is partner, because with the Five of Wands, we're not looking at partners here. We're looking at competitors in this particular deck. So how can you better partner up and work together rather than work against one another? If you look at the caption on this one at the top, it says power. So power dynamics are definitely at play. But the good news for you is I still feel like there's abundance and opportunity. It's just a question of, like, are you growing? Do you both feel like you're in the same place? If you're in that relationship, then the spark either needs to be rekindled, or there's a question of, are we going to keep doing this? This can be a third party. This can be a question mark of commitment. This can also be a sabbatical or a separation trial. This can also be moving out. So for some of you, there's this feeling of, I need to find myself. You don't need to move out to do that necessarily, but some of you may be looking for that. The key thing here is both sides need to feel balanced. I feel like this is a great time if you're going through some issues to talk to, couples therapists, etc. If you're in a happy relationship, it's just about finding time to be with each other and to rekindle. And remember that intimacy is not just sexual. It can just be about hanging out, having a date night, doing something if you have kids without the kids, getting a babysitter or something, and just spending couple time together. The Three of Cups does come through, though, to remind you to rekindle and to get away from the business-oriented part of the relationship. If you are looking for love, take care of your life first. Make your bed, as my guide was telling me, because that needs financially as well. Make the financial bed first and foremost. Get it all together. That's the main thing that I'm seeing here and that I want to look at in the next portion of finances, so that we can get that where it needs to be. But it feels like that will inhibit other things. It also feels like there's a protective energy. That's why you got surrender there that's coming through. And it's give and take. Good relationships are give and take. And if you're bringing someone in this month, let's see, we actually have really strong energies here. So this is almost king and queen. It's not quite, but we have the Hierophant, which is a very strong, experienced person. We have the Empress, which is a very controlling, very strong, experienced person. It feels like the person that you're bringing in is a little bossier than you. You're a little bit more patient. You're both very stubborn. So I feel like figuring out how to deal with strong energies. That's why we have the Two of Pentacles reversed. That's going to be the biggest thing. Two very strong gusts of wind that are coming together. And it's sort of like, where is it all going to settle? So it could be fun. Feels like physically it could be a lot of fun. It feels like there's a lot of, coming back and trying to see what's next. But it does feel like you could be sort of like butting heads a little bit here. Okay. And if you're not looking for love and you just want to know what's coming in, like I said, for business, or just life in general, you're still going to have a lot of interactions this month. You have a magnetic energy. Lovers and Three of Cups or Two of Cups, all of them are very magnetic. And some of that stuff is going to stick. You could make some new friendships or some alliances that are really key this month, which I like. Business-wise, I think it's a good time to really break out. So it's actually advantageous if you're not looking for love. You still may find it because we have the Three of Cups, but there you go. Three of Cups is very good, and it's very hard to to ignore people. They may annoy you because you can't kind of like put up all the walls, but I feel like you don't want to say no to all of these things because it could be, say yes to some of the invitations. Don't be a hermit is what I see with this, okay? Let's go to your destiny card, and then we're going to move on to how to diffuse some of this. And I'm not going to do reviews. I don't do them in my collectives because we don't have a lot of time for that. I just want to move on to the next thing. You can always watch the replay. We have fire and ice, and this is your destiny card. So one of the things that I like about this is that it's going to be revelation. When we think of melting, you're transforming. Hello, butterfly. This is another way to transform elements. So it's the same sort of, H2O, but it's frozen. So now we're going to bring it into something else. This could also be the sort of fiery energy that I was seeing, like that mix of two strong energies. They're both powerful. So in your life right now, you're going to possibly be also going between freezing and thawing energies. So there's a lot that happens and then it plateaus for a little bit. You have the ability within. The key is within. It's your passion. Your passion is your fire. Your fire is what thaws things out. So find a way to go between the two different phases, because you can't be all fire and you can't be all ice. You got to be a combination of the two. So pacing yourself, cooling off for a little bit here, enjoying the ride, and then swooping in and remolding things. So intermittent sort of cyclical energy is what you have to figure out. How much do I want to give? How much do I want to take? How much do I want to invest right now? And that's going to be key to your success. Okay. Mini in my head sort of review, but not kind of like going through everything. The main thing that I'm seeing here for you is a big growth in finances, but for some reason it's being held back by the restrictive energy of the 4 and 2 of Pentacles. The important thing for you this month is to take action and make something really, really happen. And in relationships, I see a lot of attractive energy, but it doesn't feel like it's going to that next level. So I want to write this stuff down so that I can look at it here. So I'm going to look at the first thing is going to be finances. and I want to see what we can do to kind of like open and release it, because that feels like you're holding on. And I also want to look at relationships, and I want to see how we can help you find the balance that's necessary in that, and maybe the permanence. And then looking at the destiny card, I want to look at the fire and ice, like how can you pace yourself? So the pacing of everything. So these are your main things that can help you thrive. So I wrote down like finances, relationship balance, and then pacing of energy. Let's look at those things in the next part here, and we'll get some clarity, okay? So let me just stack these cards over here in case I need to look at them, and we'll go into the next piece. Really love this card. I like that it came up today. I think it's appropriate for all of the metaphors that came through in the channel messages. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to go with the fountain deck because it has this sort of light, airy energy to it, and it will help us open things up. So let's, I'm going to pull 3 cards for each, and I'll use different decks actually as I go through them. So let's look at finances first, past, present, future influences in Mercury retrograde to help us open up the financial channels. If you're doing really well, this can also be just perceived as growth or resources. So we'll kind of look at it as just pentacles, resource, release and opening. All right, collective. I'm glad that we ended on the 10 of coins, but we got some cards to talk about. So let's look at this. The first card, we're looking at past influences. Some of you just have been either vicariously living for others or perhaps putting yourself second. We have the 3 of Swords right here. And notice how it's kind of on the water there. I like that because it's not really about the heart so much as it is about the emotions. So for you, emotions have been heavy, and it's this feeling of eventual buildup. And I like to sometimes talk about a pressure cooker, but we could also think of a wave. It needs to eventually crash and get rid of that sort of energy that it's built up. So it feels like you've been holding on too long and it's time to let go. So if you've been unhappy, investing time, energy, and resources in something, if you've been putting a lot in and you haven't been receiving the recognition back, remember what we said with the 3 of Pentacles, let something go and then recognition happens. So for some of you, this could just be releasing the idea that this is the only place that I can work. This is the only title that I can have. This is the only person that I want to be with. This is the only way. When you let go of the limiting thought of this is it, then it goes away, and then it's 3 of Pentacles, and people are like, oh, you're amazing. Come over here. Or, hey, have you thought about this? Or you recognize something in your person that you didn't before because you were attached to the external thing. So you've got to let go of that connection to something that you know is making you unhappy, right? And I think that's key. 10 of Swords, full stop is what this is. It's like a period at the end of a sentence. So with the full stop of the 10 of Swords, there is hope because sometimes you need to hear it. You need to see it. Some of us don't believe something until we hear like, I want to break up, or you are fired, or this job, you're being laid off or made redundant, or sometimes you have to see it in black and white. My encouragement here is you don't need to see it in black and white and you don't necessarily need to ask someone. Sorry, I have some marker on me. You don't need to ask someone to say something that's going to hurt you because you already know it. So the encouragement here is just to know that something is done and move on. Be careful. Be careful of what you say this month, particularly because we're in retrograde, and how to thrive is not to have this communication. So if you have a relative that always argues with you, if you have a boss that never listens to you, real to real, if you have someone who just is turned off, whatever you're envisioning this face-to-face scenario being, it's not worth it. They're not receiving it. The timing's off. It's not to say that you can't do it, but you shouldn't do it now. Okay? Plus, you're too angry or there's too much built up. So for those of you that are looking for having a confrontation, you need to wait until the heart is healed and until you don't have so much of a chip on the shoulder or a grudge to carry. For the rest of you, what we're looking at here is it's time to be happy. And you don't have to, this is like the old 80s adage, which was wrong, like no pain, no gain. I say no pain, no pain. Why are you putting yourself through it? Don't. You should be in a happy place. This is your time to be happy, right? So move on. And look what's coming through here. It's like the ultimate in, this is beyond the Three of Pentacles. This is showing community. This is showing growth. This is showing abundance. I like it. It's also like the Tree of Life is usually in this card. It's not so much in this one, but basically we're seeing sustainability as well. So this is what's really waiting on the horizon. The past and some of the present is simply like the eclipse energy. It's a shadow blocking you from achieving this. So you can do better. You will do better. You are going to get to that next dream or goal that you have. There's a fear of failure for some of you because the Ten of Pentacles doesn't have, or sorry, the Ten of Swords doesn't have to be a actual argument or pain. It can be the fear of rejection, the fear of people not liking or loving or accepting you. This is fear. This is reality. Two tens, Ten of Swords, Ten of Pentacles. So you're putting more on yourself than you need to, and there's more support than you realize. Okay, main pieces here with finances. So to open up. Let go of something that doesn't work. Don't work with people that don't listen or, like, again, have one of their canisters closed off and they're not allowing for more input. And don't put yourself in such a place that you beat yourself up for failing or making a mistake or you're afraid of failing. Because growth is the outcome. Growth is your divine right. And let me just pull one more card in this one to see how to diffuse the 10 and 3 of Swords. Forgive yourself. Forgive others. Forgiveness is key. Don't hold on either to something you can't control. All right, let's take a look at the second question, which is relationship balance. And for some of you, maybe permanence. So I'll kind of like broadly look at this one a bit. Let's use this particular deck. I forget the name of it, Divine something or other. So let's see what's coming through. Relationship balance. There's the Judgment card. Okay. And I'm just going to get ahead of myself here too and pull a transformation card for this. All right. So we're looking again at relationships, past influences, Page of Wands reversed. So when we look at this Page of Wands here, I like that this person is kind of dancing to the beat of their own drum. But when the card is reversed, sometimes it can be a matter of really not receiving, listening, or kind of like, it is not just listening, it's sort of like a mental block. So sometimes you expect someone to say or do something, and even if they do it different from that, you're still stuck with the expectation. So this is saying in relationships, suspend disbelief, allow someone to show up differently, really listen, observe, and give them the benefit of the doubt. If they continue to prove you wrong, then, or prove themselves wrong, then at some point it's like, yeah, I understand. That's just how you work. But this is staying open-minded. There is a potential for you to stay more open-minded, or if your partner's blocked, for them to stay more open-minded. This is what I've been hitting on for a while here, and I guess it has more to do with relationships. We have Judgment reversed. Judgment reversed tells me that you already know something is done or that an action is required, but you just have to take that action. Sometimes there is anger or frustration because the decision wasn't yours to make, or the decision was made for you. So sometimes you could be in a job or relationship and the other person pulled back, and it's sort of like, but I wasn't done, but they're done. And this is accepting what they've given to you and saying, well, then I'm going to focus on something else. If they're done, then I'm done too. You can try to communicate what you want, but if they keep giving you a closed door, then remember what I saw with the ghost going through your house and going out the front door. It's already done. It's like the Six of Swords. I saw the ghost in the ship. So let go of the ghost of the past. Judgment is rebirth. It's the phoenix rising from the ashes. It's resurrection, depending on the deck. Here it's, traveling in the clouds. It's all of the above. So go to higher ground, go higher. Now we have Three of Wands, and all of these were reversed. So we're just looking at like basically a delayed action on some of this stuff. So Three of Wands is a fantastic end point. Three of Wands is you seeing the fruits of your action and you seeing positive movement. What I'm going to say for this one, though, is it's really interesting that we see the wands kind of represented here on the side, but you have to go higher. You have to reach a little bit. Is your partner reaching? Are you reaching? Are people around you kind of pushing you to the next level? To me, it looks like there has to be a little bit of you're going to have to move yourself. And you know that I say this all the time, but I actually like it when I see someone moving in a Three of Wands. She's moving. It's good. We could imagine that if we look at the two of these, she's moving up to this beautiful view of heaven, right? So this is the resurrection. This is the movement towards the resurrection or the rebirth. So in a relationship, is there a fighting chance? You bet your money there is. I would say, but both partners have to reach for that higher energy. And if one doesn't, if one blocks, it's done, but you're going to be A-okay. This is one of the best cards that you can. Have you noticed a trend here? Your end cards are all good. The other ones tend to be a little tricky, but we've got like 10 of Pentacles up here, and now we have the Three of Wands here. Very auspicious. How can you bring about the Three of Wands here? We have peace. I'm a being of peace, of love. I release all negative energy. There's a nice kind of connection between the finances and between the relationship energy. And it's nice to read these together because sometimes our key relationships are coworkers and bosses and people around us with whom we're working. So find a peace, even if it doesn't exist. Lead with peace, lead with love. You should be okay. But for finances, letting go of pain, letting go of the fear of failure, forgiving yourself, opening up to receiving. In relationships, accepting what people are trying to say to you, not trying to force them to see it your way. Both of you should be reaching. If you do, there could be movement, but not one person can't be the motor that's pulling all the cogs around, just to kind of pull some parity between what we saw before and now. All right, now let's look at the pacing message, which is a lot sort of more broad, but we're going to take a look at pacing. Pacing in any and everything, just in general, how can you not get worn out in your life? Energetically, work-wise, relationship, etc. How can you better take advantage of everything? Using the Light Seer deck here. Oh, wow. Okay. All majors. Okay, let's pull definitely an alchemic card on this one. Okay. All right, you got some big cards here. Let's start with past influences. We have the Death card reverse, which is a lot like the Tower card. It's a new beginning, but there's stagnation that's holding you back from walking through the portal. This may be my favorite Death card. I have to look at them, but I think this is probably my favorite Death card because it is. It's actually very close to how I've seen Azrael before, but not with the sort of portal. You usually can't see what's here. I've seen the Shrouded Death figure. I've seen other angels that come through, but Azrael usually has a shroud. With the reverse of this, it's saying, I'm here to help you. If you take my hand, I'll pull you through to this new opportunity. But for some reason, you're holding, you're waiting. What are you waiting for? That's what Azrael is asking you. What's the delay? You and only you can answer that, but what's the delay? And you can see it's all about movement. It's all about growth. There's nothing menacing about this Death card. It's rebirth. It's a cycle. One end is a new beginning. Okay. You may be holding back because someone won't let you go. That's what I see with this Devil card. If we look really close, he's a handsome devil, but the most important thing here is he's holding the strings. Someone else could be holding you captive. Could be a parent, could be a friend, could be a lover. And they're saying, what will I do without you? And this is where my guide was saying, like, you make your bed, you let them make their bed. It's the same thing coming through. The problem is when you really love someone or they're really nice or they say it in a way that's surprising. The devil, I like that it's not some big horned creature. This is how the devil shows up in real life. It shows up in a more attractive and a more seductive way oftentimes. And it can come through the voice or the figure of a friend or a loved one because they're afraid. Fear is the thing that's kind of allowing the devil to come through it and work with it. So someone is afraid of letting you go. That's what I see here. We're not looking at relationships, but we kind of are. You're also afraid of letting something go. So have you noticed release, release, release has been a very common theme in all of this today as we're looking at everything. So releasing that tie or that fear, like what happens if this isn't here? Why not flip it around and think, what happens if this isn't here? What can I do? What else can I do? Change the intonation like an actor would. You could read that line a lot of ways. Instead of kind of being sad about it, like, this is it, is this it? I would say, is this it? What else is there? So just change the tone, change the energy, get excited about the possibilities, and change those film canisters or that reel-to-reel with something better. You can do this. Every final card was positive. Let me just turn it down. I think I got all the cards that people fear in tarot today. We've got the 3 of Swords, the 10 of Swords, Judgment, Death, and Devil. But then on this side, we have 10 of Coins, 3 of Wands, Strength, Truth, Shadow, Past, and Fear. That's really what we're seeing here. Sorry, I made the camera go crazy. But I hope you see that this is the truth energy coming through. And ultimately, it's all about growth for you. It says, I want to expand my consciousness and my awareness. So the past energy here, if we look at it as a whole and kind of do a mini reading here, releasing death, the sadness, opening and expanding your mind. The center, which is right now in the retrograde, it is a tricky retrograde, but you're going to be okay. Don't be afraid to fail. Accept a decision, accept the truth, see things, and then rise above it. Release people in your life that you're holding on to. Don't let them hold you back. Don't hold on to something that's holding you in place, because that's the stagnation energy. And then what happens? Growth and abundance in all forms, recognition, development, immediate sort of recognition that something's happening. You start to see signs and symbols, a synchronicity in other words. And by the way, you feel so much better once this has happened. You've transformed. I like that we see divine feminine and masculine here, and neither is being dominated. More cards need to be like this one. So, and then we see forgiveness, peace, and growth as being the main purposes that all of these energies are coming through. Really cool to kind of look at it in that perspective. So there's the illusion and the fear, but then there's the reality. 10 of Pentacles, 3 of Wands, and Strength. Really beautiful, right? So this is where you're headed. This is how you thrive. Go bigger, go bolder, work with the network that you have. Take an active role towards meeting someone halfway. And take care of yourself, because you are the vessel through which all this energy starts to come through, right? I see some questions on why I don't create some cards, because it's, as someone who published his own book, it's really hard to do the distribution of that. You would have to hire the illustrator, you would have to negotiate the contract, you would have to figure out all of the sort of production levels. Someday a publisher can hire me and I'll work with them. But until it all comes together, I'll put that out in the universe, but it's got to be the right conduit. It's difficult. Self-publishing is worth it, but it's difficult, and you have to partner with an illustrator. So I'm answering that in real time. I'd like to, but it's got to be the right time. Okay, so let's move on to, I want to look at some questions that you guys asked me. And I scanned a few and circled them, but I'm going to look at them with like fresh eyes today based on the questions that or some of the information that I just saw here. I want to remind you that the questions that I'm looking at today were already provided to me prior to this session. I just got to see where I put them. So basically, if you'd like to participate in the future, feel free to do that. You can do that by clicking join or becoming a channel member. And that's a nice way to not only sort of support the channel, here it is, but to give back or to also sort of like be able to participate. So I'll do members posts on Patreon and YouTube, and that's where I'm taking them from today. Okay, so I'm going to start with one that came from a channel member here, Paris. And the question was, is it okay to start something new during a Mercury retrograde? Heck yes, it is. Because you know what, and I'll pull a card as we do these just to kind of give general information for the collective as well. So what I would say when you do something new in a retrograde, you want to have, first of all, if you're going to buy something, get insurance. So if you're going to buy like a phone, a computer, a house, whatever, just make sure that you have insurance so that when or if something goes wrong, you're covered. Make sure that you plan and have a backup plan for what will happen if something fails, because more likely than not, there's going to be a hiccup. So having all of those things together is okay. Do your research, do your planning, have some sort of like security in place. The other thing, and the most important thing, is when it comes to communication. If you're booking an appointment, let's say you're gonna, you have to meet somebody. Text the night before, text the day of, make sure that you have the time and the location and the time zone and everything is together, because there's little tiny communications and assumptions that can happen. So just double, triple, quadruple check and you'll be okay usually. And then if something falls apart, buy it on a credit card, have an insurance plan, you'll be okay. It might take a couple goes. If you're trying to meet someone or do something, there could also be a weird hang up. Someone could get a flat tire or something like that. So you'll do it. It just might take a little longer. The truth is I've had to like start a new job sometimes in a retrograde cycle, or I've had to, just do something really important in a retrograde, sometimes even move. And it's possible. Is it a pain in the butt? Sure. But did it work out fine? Yes. And at the end of the day, it was fine. Just little things like someone might be an hour late, something might happen here or there, but you can still do it. Sometimes you can thrive. Things that you should do during a retrograde are anything with RE, so revisiting, rewriting, basically going back and kind of like the judgment energy, taking something and rising up from it, finishing something up. If you didn't get a degree and you want to go back and get a degree, it's a good time. Taking loose ends and tying them up, releasing stuff, all of that is retrograde. And it will be enhanced with that. So if you're a writer and you have a book, you can go back and edit it during retrograde, get a lot of work done. You could go back and fine tune things. If you're repairing the house, good time. Again, if you're hiring contractors and things like that, be careful with that. But if you're just kind of like redoing or refinishing or wrapping something up, perfect. Starting something new, that's when you want to have those sort of contingencies. Single card for energy around doing something new is to be really clear on what you want, and also to make sure everything's transparent. When I look at the star card, it is just crystal clear. And the reversal of this can sometimes be someone else that's too focused on their own world or what's going on in their life. And this is just reminding you that, yeah, we got to make sure that we're both on the same page at the same time. Okay. So that's the answer to that one. Someone was asking about retrograde, what it is really. It's an illusion. So when we look at the planet Mercury, it appears like it's moving backwards, but it's not. It's just an optical illusion based on its rotation, our rotation around the sun. And so if you go back to Roman and Greek mythology, so we're looking at Mercury or Hermes, it was a messenger, basically messenger to the god, communication, movement, which is why transportation is affected as well. And so these things, because of the illusion of that, because of the ruling energy of Mercury associated with those things, tends to have hiccups or suffer. I had my website crash the other day. Right, we're in the pre-shadow, so the shadow happens like it can be like up to 7 days before, up to 7 days after, and I feel like it was amplified by this. But the cool thing for me is I didn't lose data. I just have to go through and reformat some posts. Not a big deal. You have to look at it from, it could have been worse. It's not the end of the thing. And I had backups. And so that's what you have to do, is just have contingency plans. So little things like that. Your computer could crash, your website could crash. You could lose something that you're working on. Make sure that you have backups. It is an illusion, but it also does kind of factor in because of the way things move. Okay. I talked about the specific things that we should be doing. So hopefully that helped. There was a question here from Sue that was really good, which was saying, why does Mercury in retrograde affect people differently? I honestly believe it has, for some people, just to do with how comfortable you are with ambiguity or change, and how able you are to react in real time to something that's unplanned. Because there is a sort of, it's better for people that are used to working sort of on the fly. So like an improv comic may be okay, or like an actor, because they're used to taking input and just sort of like, okay, let's work with that. Or if you do what I do, like, and you have to work live, things happen. So you just react and figure it out on the fly. So I would say comfort with ambiguity and change is really key. Let's pull a card and see if there's anything that you can do this month to just be a little bit more at ease with what's out of your control. I think one thing you can do is try to do everything that I said. Plan as well as you can to to be prepared and then know that you're going to figure it out. That's what I do. I'm like, well, we'll make it work. However it's going to happen today is going to work out. So yeah, you can't see everything. Even as a clairvoyant, you cannot see everything. There are some things that come through because you're supposed to be surprised. So one thing that you could tell the universe is, I'm ready for a really positive surprise. It's kind of like winning the lotto, right? So sometimes there's happy surprises. So start to manifest and expect something wonderful to happen too. So you're attracting things. If you think, oh my God, something bad is going to happen. What I did the other day, I'm like, well, the worst is over. It can only get better. I'm ready for improvements now. So try to manifest the positive instead of expect the worst. Okay, that would be what I would say. And that should help you out with that a little bit. I had another great question from Laura, which was saying, like, why are some people thriving in Mercury retrograde? I think that it is good if you are at that point of really being ready to move. So what retrograde can do for you is it can be kind of like a rocket booster, right? So when you're truly ready to let go and to let me see if I could find that card, surrender, then you have this power to remold, right? So this came through for a reason. It was, I think, in relationships for you. So when you surrender to the truth, when you accept the judgment card that we saw here as well, when you accept what's being given to you and then start to work with it, really cool stuff can happen. So it's acceptance, it's empowerment, and it's a decision to do something with that. So some people are just ready for change. If you're ready for change, this is your time. Good stuff will start to happen during that period. Let's see here. Is there things that you should be avoiding? Of course, it's going to be what I feel like most of this has been talked about, but if you don't have to move, if you don't have to make a big ticket purchase like a house or a car, if you don't have to travel, and if there's not some sort of final draft that you're sending out, anything that's like a big signature on the dotted line, or where there's a lot to be at stake, try to avoid that. But if you just wrapped up a sale of a house, if you're wrapping something up, it's not the worst thing. Instead of moving, selling is not so bad. Just look at the contract again, make sure that there's that stuff can still kind of go crazy, but releasing and moving beyond is not bad. The act of moving can still kind of work with it. If you've been trying to do it for a long time, you could see retrograde as your breakthrough moment. It's going to break a stagnation cycle. So it's all about perspective. I still feel like you can make a change. If you've been looking for love, if you've been looking to move, if you've been looking for a financial windfall, and it all comes together, then the retrograde is saying, you did your work. Here you go. The cycle's over. So Mercury's a good god. I like Mercury. It's there to help us out and move us, just like the Knight cards are. So just be open to move in the right direction, I would say. Okay. Let me look at some questions from Patreon, and then I'll see if there's anything else here that I want to talk about. Do I believe in the retrograde shadow? Shelley asked me that. Absolutely. I felt retrograde happening before it happened, and it did happen to me before it happened. So like I said, it can be 3 to 5 or up to 7 days before and or after. So retrograde really kind of can span a full month. It's the couple of weeks when it's really in the middle of it, and then a week before or after. You don't have to freak out as much in the shadow periods. It's usually a little bit more muted, but it's still there. And I would say just be aware of all the stuff that we talked about. It could be really positive. It could just give you some pause when it comes to, a couple of hiccups here or there. What behaviors or mindsets should be avoided or scrutinized during this period? Rebecca asked me this. It was a good question. So I believe thoughts are alchemic and they manifest. So expecting bad things, that's something you should avoid. Being curious, being foundational and preparing for things, I think that's really good. Looking for new things, it's good. Like, it's an investigation time. It's a developmental time. It's a completion time, all of those sorts of things, and working on how can I do better? What haven't I seen? What else kind of inspires me? That's what I would be looking at in this. Healing is key. You may be dreaming of partners that have passed into spirit, maybe that are living, but they're still kind of haunting you in your head. So what happens during retrograde is you're going to have visitation of these thoughts, of these feelings, of these energies. And it's a chance to let it go. So what you could think of is, how can I free myself? How can I elevate myself? How can I move beyond this, right? And I think that will help out a lot. I think we've talked a lot about the benefits. So I think that's already kind of been discussed. Let me see if there's anything else. Most of them were kind of the same about like, what does it mean? What can we avoid? All of that. How does Mercury retrograde affect finances and our ability to increase our income? That's a good question. So as I've said before, you want to be careful of big expenditures, but if you've had a period of stagnation, and some of you have because of the pandemic, right? Certain sectors of the world and business have been shut down because of that. You could see a breakthrough happening. It's also encouraging you to change. So if you did want to move into something new, what you could contextualize it in your head is, I'm releasing this path and I'm embarking on this path. So what you would do in retrograde is do the homework. Get your CV together, look at the research on the different websites about the places that you want to apply to. You could even send out the applications. Probably by the time you get an interview or a Zoom or a face-to-face kind of contact with someone, retrograde should be pretty much over. So this is a chance to lay down those sort of like feelers and do the groundwork and the research. So another good thing to do is research and discovery, because it's preparing you for the action that will take place right on the heels of retrograde. You don't want to do nothing during this period. I think researching, preparing, wrapping things up, revising, releasing, all of that stuff is really going to be beneficial. Let me see if there's anything else here that collectively is going to make a lot of sense. I may save some of these for a future one because I still want to do a meditation after this. Let's see, crystals. We talked about what crystals could work here, and I think this is really good too. So of course, because it came through today, rose quartz is fantastic. It's kind of hard to see it because of the light here. There you go. But it's basically just pink colored quartz crystal. You can get this anywhere. It's a very easy and then very inexpensive crystal to purchase. And you can, if you get a polished rose crystal, you could put it in your pocket. You can hold on to it. You can meditate with it. You can sleep with one of these crystals. Let's see. The other thing that you can work with is citrine. This is actual real citrine. A lot of times, let's see if I have it. You will have heated quartz or something that is made to look like citrine, but it's not. The difference is you're going to have a little bit more of a green tint to it, or kind of like a yellowish greenish tint. So with this citrine, it's really good for retrograde because it can help you with your finances and it can help you grow even in the heart space a little bit with the green energy. So it's going to bring the power energy up from the solar plexus. It's going to help you with the heart. It's going to help you with money. So getting a nice citrine crystal can help with this period of time. Rose quartz, those are two that, based on some of the questions today, could be something worth looking into. So yeah, this is a real citrine, really nice. Not what you would see necessarily kind of at the store. Sometimes those are just heat treated. So do your homework and find a real citrine, and that will help you. I think I have a calcite one here that's, this is good for power too, or fluorite rather. Sorry, there's a neighbor and their dog running outside. So anyway, if you want to do something with power, it can be something like this as well. So anyway, those are a few that are coming through today that would make more sense, I think. And I really think citrine and rose, those are the two that I'm drawn to sort of like help you with today. I don't have I have it in the other room because I was using it near my bed. I like to sleep with labradorite. So that's another one that's also good for grounding during a retrograde. But communication would benefit from anything with a blue color on it as well. So you could look at that too. Okay. I think those are the main questions because I want to leave enough time for a meditation. I'm going to do one more scan of this and see if there's anything else that makes sense. You know, there's one more that I want to hit on, which was karmic. It was about karma in retrograde. And yes, karmic lessons are going to come back. Of course, they're going to come back in retrograde. So if there is someone that you didn't wrap things up correctly with, let's say that there was a breakup or there's a debt that is owed or a promise unkept, then what can either happen is you will have this random serendipitous run-in with this person where you're going to have to deal with it, or you're going to get a sort of, it's like someone is going to be cast in that same role and you're going to repeat that same energy. So usually we get like gentler versions sometimes of what we've already mostly integrated, but you'll see someone that reminds you of someone and the same pattern is happening. So retrograde is saying, hello, this is the same lesson. You got an 85%. Are you ready to get 100% and move on? Because we're tired of giving you this lesson. So a lot of times new people will come up with the same patterns. And this is a chance to release it. Look at them and think, I'm done with this pattern. Yes, I learned it. And maybe do reparations with that older person in your life and just let it go so that you can move on. You know, if there's a question about like karmic retribution or payback, which I think was the core of this one, you do not know how karmic justice is going to play out. It could be this life or next. One of the things I think is really good as a human being to do is to not worry about like the vindictive nature of karma paying someone back, because that can kind of bite you as well. So things have a way of working out in this life or next. Release it. Let the scales of justice decide. Let the powers that be, let their own soul and karma kind of write that path for them. Focus on you. You make your own bed. Let them make theirs as well, just to echo what came through. We're going to, you know, there were some questions about meditating and kind of releasing stuff. So we're going to do that today using the moon and probably using something like a butterfly. And I think that will help. As we said with patterns, again, people were asking like 2 to 3 weeks early. That's because of the shadow. So hopefully that helps you, and be prepared for it to kind of linger for 1 week after. And I think most of them are done here. The last thing here is really good. One more from Kristen, and then we're going to wrap it. And I'll save some of these for the future because there's so many good ones. So someone was asking how you could more effectively communicate during a retrograde. Listen. Let the other person talk first. Take pauses in your communication and see how they feel. Listen to nonverbal cues. Listen to what other people are saying around you. So basically a lot more of taking in and integrating than just projecting. Because especially if we pulled up a bunch of page cards, I would say it's always important to hear, to repeat back to make sure that you got it right, and then to also ask them, say, just to make sure, just to make everything clear, can you tell me what you thought I said, or do you have questions about it? I want to make sure that that was conveyed accurately. Let's pull a card on this one because it's a good question, but it is just about slowing and validating your communication process. If you have a chance to do this, either on the telephone or on a video conference of some sort, whether it's Skype or Zoom or FaceTime or Messenger chat, whatever. Face-to-face is key because you can read the energy a little bit better, I think, when you're looking at someone's face than if you were to simply send a text. So avoiding text or written communication, I think, is like super essential. All right, so 10 of Wands reverse when we're looking at communication. Don't be pushy. Definitely don't let this can be verbal abuse sometimes. So if someone around you is just saying things, again, that it's either out of character or something, what I usually do is take a half step back and just say, are you okay? This isn't like you. Did I call it a bad time? And you could actually get way ahead of this and at the beginning say, hey, how's it going? How are you? Check in and really ask them and make sure you know, and then say, is this a good time to call or is there a better time? And let them answer. And if they say it is and it isn't, that's on them. But give them a chance to let you know where they are mentally and let you know if it's an okay time. What are you doing? Is it okay? Can we chat? And then move forward. You don't have to carry the burden of everything for everyone. So people may be dealing with a lot. You may be dealing with a lot. You don't have to do it all yourself. So communication is just one part of this, and you have to kind of take in all the pieces. So just slow down. And ultimately, this is about moving on and moving up. So I feel like elevate the communication, you should be all right. All right. So those are our main questions. If I didn't answer yours today, don't worry. There's retrograde cycles that happen all year long, and I'll revisit this when I do a future retrograde video. And if you'd like to participate in the future, I pinned a comment. You can go to my website. You can click the join button here, or you can join me on Patreon if you'd like to. And I will occasionally take questions from members. So thank you so much to everybody that submitted. Let's go ahead and meditate. And after this, I'm going to pull an extra card. So what I like to do, if this is your first time joining me, if there's something that I didn't answer for you, or something that you'd like me to help you with, I'll pull an extra question at the end. I'm going to look at it through the lens of how to thrive. I think I've given you a lot of ways to grow and thrive and not be afraid today. Ultimately, just to repeat a kind of summary of what we talked about, retrograde is a chance to release, to grow, and to move. And so as we do the meditation in a second, we're going to focus on all of those things. And afterwards, if there's something that you're having a hard time releasing or growing with or moving on with, then I'll try to help you with that. So I'm going to write release, move, and grow. So I remember it as I look at that card and try to kind of like contextualize it. So I'm going to start the meditation here in just a second. If you'd like to follow me on social media, here are my handles. For most, it's just Nicholas Ashbaugh, and you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram. And of course, if you haven't done it on YouTube, please do that. I put stories and also the pictures of all the cards that I pulled, not the, I should say these cards that I wrote. So if you want my channeled messages, I put them on all my major platforms, and you can reread them there later. And on Twitter, I'll remind you the day of a reading of what's coming through. And like I said, subscribing and liking the video really helps with engagement. So thank you in advance for that. Let's go ahead and meditate, and then I will answer your final question. Meditation takes about 2 minutes, and then we'll get into whatever it is that I haven't answered so far. It's a silent question, I should say. I'll pull a card. I'll look at it as a yes, no. And then I will also dig a little bit deeper and see if there's some other messages with it. If you haven't looked at your June readings, they're all up on my YouTube channel. So you can check it out afterwards. And just a quick note, I'm going to be doing a collective video on the weekend, which is why I wanted to focus this one solely on retrograde. So on Sunday, I'll be back if you want to join me. And we'll look at some different stuff during that. I basically theme these as I get closer to the video. So you can check it out, set a reminder, and we'll just do a checkpoint. And I'll try to see like what's on the horizon, new opportunities, maybe focusing on opportunities rather than blocks, which we were looking at today. So more to come on that, but I'll be doing one more on Sunday, and then we'll be starting the next round of videos probably the following Thursday or Friday. So I haven't announced those dates yet, but they're there. And if you'd like to sign up for my newsletter so that you can get it in your inbox, here you go. All right, so let's meditate. For this meditation, I want to definitely use the moon because we just went through that supermoon. So one of the things with the supermoon is it seems a little bit bigger than life. And I kind of want us to be able to project our energy up to that big moon. So let's keep one version of ourselves here on Earth, and we're going to project astrally our body to the moon and do a little bit of work there, and then come back, and then I'll answer your question. So close your eyes, take a nice deep breath, inhale. And stretch your arms up if you want to for a moment, letting go of any sort of tension that you might be holding in your arms and your back. You can even roll your shoulders up and back a little bit. Just relax everything and exhale. And imagine that you are outside just as the sun has begun to set, and you can see the stars and you can see the moon in the sky starting to become clearer and clearer. And you can imagine that we're seeing that big full supermoon right in front of us. And it's so big that you could almost reach out and touch it. But before you do that, I want you to keep one hand on the earth, really feel that you are connected to this planet, maybe lean against a tree behind you and just feel this connection to this plane. And then go ahead and reach out and imagine that you could just sort of like put your hand and see the moon right in the palm of your hand. As you close your eyes, in this moment, you feel your physical body staying on the planet, but there's a moonbeam that reaches out towards you. And imagine that your spiritual self, your etheric self, could travel through the moonbeam, through that outreached hand. And instead of reaching out and touching the moon, you're actually on the moon. So see your projected reality there on the lunar surface. And I want you to look at how grand this universe is and this solar system is. The Earth looking very small, almost like the moon from where you're at, the sun looking so much bigger and brighter than you ever imagined it would be. But then seeing a lot of space, a lot of openness. Sometimes we get claustrophobic on this planet, but the truth is there's a lot more openness and space between objects out there in outer space than there are objects. So take a moment to just allow your mind to be cleared. And if there's any thoughts that were heavy, the weightlessness of being out here, even energetically, is giving you a sense of lightness, levity, and movement. You could just push yourself and then you start traveling in that direction. So if there's something that you want to create momentum around, imagine you could just push yourself from the moon towards that direction and let go and start to move freely. And if you would like to just move towards the sun or towards the earth, see yourself moving towards that energy and pulling in as much light, as much perspective as you would like. And if you'd like to imagine that you have wings, see yourself in energetics state having these sort of beautiful wings that can kind of allow you to move freely there in space. And that's all we need to do. Letting go, opening up, seeing the space, and then I'd like you to, as a GPS, just figure out what is next. What are you working towards? And allow the gravity of that to attract you toward it. And then by the end of me playing the singing bowl in about a minute and a half, you'll be there, and then we'll answer your final question. Whatever it is that you've been calling into your life, allow yourself now to realize that, just like the key that I saw at the very beginning, you've always held that within you. You just had to reach out and ask for it. Reach out and see that it was something that you could accomplish, that you were ready to call into existence. Allow yourself now to gently fall towards your body back on this planet, traveling through the moonbeam, taking with you the vision, taking with you the connection to that future self or that future realization that we just did. Bowing to the moon with reverence, thanking it for showing you any sort of illusions that were holding you back, any shadows that frightened you, but now I'm seeing that you have the light and the love and the intensity of your own soul to light the path, and not being afraid, walking unafraid, shining just as brightly as the moon here in your own energy. Nice deep breath when you're ready. Inhale. Gently open your eyes on the exhale. Let's take a look now at your final question that you have for me. This can be anything that you've been thinking about, that you've been holding on to, that you've been seeking some clarity on. And let me see. Yeah, we'll use the little print deck for this. Okay. So just think the question, and I'm going to shuffle, and we'll get a yes, no, and maybe some additional details as we go through this. Seven of Wands. Great card. We love the moon on this particular card as well. All right, so the Seven of Wands card, which was reversed for me, but really we're just going to read the general energy of this. As a yes, no, What this is actually telling me is that the timing might be off for you. It's more of a not yet. The Seven of Wands tells me you can do anything that you put your mind to, but there's a little bit of forced energy with this. So I prefer things to be more fluid. So I feel like you're either you're pushing the timing a little bit, or you need the other person needs a little bit of time to breathe, or the opportunity needs a little bit of time to breathe before you step into it. So I would say there needs to be a delay. If you can delay it until after the retrograde, then it's a yes. Right now, it feels like the timing is a little off. I do see success either way you cut it. The Seven of Wands really doesn't have anything negative to it. It tells me that if you want to do it, you can do it, but the work required to do it now will be more than if you wait. There may be something else that opens up that's a little bit easier. If you are intent on doing it, then I would say delegate. The key thing with the Seven of Wands is it's working too hard and it's not working as smart as it could work. The sort of person in the particular card. So I would say, let some other people pick up the slack. Don't try to do everything, or really focus your energy a little more. You take one away, you have success. Six of Wands. You add one, you have the Eight of Wands. Seven of Wands is that sort of wobbly one in between where it's just exhausting. So take proper care of yourself, get enough rest, and then allow it to become a little bit easier before you say yes. Don't force it. It's the main message that I get here. As long as you're not forcing it, it should be okay. If you're forcing it, there's either something better waiting for you, or the way that you're working, there's an opportunity to be more effective. There's a lesson that hasn't been fully integrated. But it's not like the Devil or the Tower where I would just say no. With this, it's just timing and effort seems a little bit like it's off and it needs some fine tuning. Okay. But I like it overall. And I would say worry a little less, work a little smarter, and be patient and be open to the right cosmic timing for something. And if it all falls together, perfect. It should work out no matter what, but there's something a little bit off. So just be cognizant of all of that, especially since we're going into a retrograde. Someone's asking what sign it is. I would say, yes, it's every sign. That's what my collective readings are. And I put like there was all signs there. So when I do collectives, I'm doing a collective today and I'm doing a collective on Sunday. I don't isolate it. It kind of is the antithesis of that. So also I would be here for like 3 hours if I read all 12 signs at once. So we don't want that. All right. Thank you everyone for joining today. Again, I will be back again on Sunday. We'll be looking at sort of a broader context, not just retrograde. Today was more about blocks, how to grow, how to get past that, how to thrive. And remember that you can thrive. Just don't push things, don't force things. The final card, in fact, shows all of that. Grounding yourself and staying open is going to be really key. Thank you everyone for joining today. It's such a pleasure to be able to do more collectives per month. You guys made it possible, so please continue to like, share, subscribe. It makes more of an impact than you know. So if you want to help this channel grow, just send it to somebody and let them know about it. But commenting after this is on replay also helps quite a bit too. All right. Thanks, everyone. Take care of yourselves. You're going to have a great retrograde. Don't freak out. That's one of the best things that I could tell you is this is an opportunity to change, to release, to move, and to grow. Patience, timing, and working smart. That's what we want to kind of leave it with today. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a fantastic weekend. Thanks to Maria for all of her help today as well. There was a lot to kind of sift through today, so I appreciate it. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.